Hey, what's up, everybody? This is DJ Thielen with another episode of DJ Thielen Live. I'm the CEO and founder of Fortune Foreclosures and Flipping on Demand. And today I have on not just a great guest that's going to really rock your world, but a good friend of mine, Miss Marcella Rodriguez. What's up, Marcella?
Hey, DJ, what's up?
Hey, do you like my cup?
Let's see. Do what you love. Yeah,
Do what
actually,
you love.
I do like your stuff. Yes.
I mean, not that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So today, obviously, we're going to talk about some really great things that can help people. And so share it to people, the listeners that are on. So some people are going to watch this live on Facebook, YouTube, various sources, but there's going to be people that are going to listen. So as well, obviously, on the podcast and things like that. So today we're going to share with you guys some more success strategies on how you can live your best life. And we're going to get right into it. So Marcella, you're obviously like a great person, but you're an actress, a model, an entrepreneur, an empowering woman that has overcome a lot in life. Share with the people like just a quick snapshot of more or less like, maybe where you grew up, where you came from, and then we'll get into like the really good, nuts and bolts of things.
Okay. So hi, everybody. So happy to be here with DJ and all of you today. So I grew up in Norwalk, California, and I was adopted by a wonderful family. And growing up I had a great childhood, good life, Catholic school, good upbringing. However, looking back at my life, as good as it was, there was always some internal struggles that I had growing up, maybe as a young woman, maybe because of Catholic school. I mean, it could be a number of things, but there were things that I wasn't sure about myself, let's just put it that way. And for the fact that who I was before and who I am today are entirely two different people. Let's just say it like that. So
I'm gonna blame the Catholic school, but let's go on. No, I'm just kidding.
So, just growing up like any normal teenager, had some curiosities, went through life, not knowing who I was, what I wanted. Mother always tried to guide me, did a little bit of the modeling, the pageants as a teenager. So, self-image was a little bit of a thing back then, trying to take care of myself. DJ, but just to be raw and real, there was just one thing that was always missing. Didn't feel complete as a young woman, always searching for something to make me feel better, whether it was the gym, whether it was that, one drink of wine that I would have had, always looking for something to fill that void, which in turn I have to say would cause some confusion on direction at some point in my life. Really didn't know what I wanted for quite some time growing up. And which leads me to, yes, the fabulous life I have today, but it wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this, watch this. And the great part is that, you've been able to, I think anytime you run into somebody that has, people can look at people, be it on TV or, obviously you're in an industry and an area, a ton of people, high level people, but, people can look at those people on TV and things and say, gosh, they got it so great, or look at this. But they don't really, be it actors or celebrities or professional athletes or whatever, and really not know the mind monsters, the demons, the negative programs that are going on in those minds. And you hit on something really great. It was, trying to fill that void of, and really not knowing like, oh, just I'm going to do this, or maybe it's, shopping, or maybe it's the gym, or right. And I'm not saying for you women that you can't go shopping and buy some nice shoes and stuff. Like, I'm all about that. But like, yeah, trying to fill something and not really understanding and knowing. So fast forward to today, obviously you're doing some big things. So you've done, obviously modeling, acting, started businesses, possibly sold businesses. We haven't got into that.
Right.
Have your spa business that's booming that we're gonna get into, but your mobile spa business, that's why my face looks so good.
Amazing. You look awesome.
um,
I want to touch on that though, like what I talked about, like it's not that I didn't know what I wanted. I always wanted to be an actress. I enjoyed being in front of the camera. Like I did love all of that. Don't get me wrong. But being adopted, there was just this subtle void, always not feeling good enough, always feeling, was I lovable or wanted? And, I struggled for many years of my life with those demons, never feeling good enough. So no matter what I did, I always felt that I wasn't enough. And so fast forward to today, I've learned tools to learn how to reprogram the thoughts that I have, because don't think that because you start doing things to better yourself that they dissipate completely. But, every day is a constant battle to believe in yourself and to know what you're made of, to know that you're powerful. And I really want to say this to women, that sometimes when we don't feel like we're good enough, we have to know and own it, fake it till you make it, until we become good enough. And that's what I've done for the last several years of my life.
That's so good. Share with like some of the things that you do to catch those negative thoughts, because they come into all of us, right? So right. What are some of the things that you do? Well, before I get that, you touched on something that I think really will help a lot of people here, and that is that you were adopted. And that can really come with, be it that you're adopted, that you only have one parent in the picture, maybe, a mom, a dad. So, because a lot of things that we deal with in thoughts and programs stem from our childhood. You touched on something that I think was really, I think could be the core of a lot of people's issue, is not feeling at that young age the love. Maybe your parents didn't come to your games. Maybe you were adopted. Maybe you didn't have the support that you needed. How did that start to play out and affect you as you started, experiencing life? And what are some things that you do now to actually not have to deal with that, or I guess fix that?
Well, let me recap like on my childhood. So just so you know, I was told when I was 10 years old by somebody who knew I was adopted that I didn't. So as you can understand, it was quite a shock to me, having an identity crisis, thinking you were one person and then finding out that it's not what you thought. So let's start with it. But my parents, father and mother, were there. My dad was my baseball coach. I played baseball. My mom was the teen mom. So so I had really good parents. But back to that shock, or that trauma, if you will, of finding out that those weren't my parents and they didn't tell me. There comes a time where I felt kind of a betrayal, if that makes sense, and then an identity crisis. I was too young to understand. But today, because of those feelings of they've done studies on adoptees that they know that they don't belong where they are, if that makes sense. So even younger, I always had this odd feeling that I was a black sheep or a fish out of water, and I can't really explain why. I wasn't really like my parents, who were so straight-laced. I was like a little Dennis the Menace, always being scolded for, acting a certain way, sit still, do this, do that. So that already planted some seeds that I wasn't doing the right thing the way that I was. And so that set a stage. Oh my God, was I not good enough? Was I not acting right? But the way that I deal with that today is, even when I go into an audition, I still get little, butterflies in my stomach. You want to do a great job. You want to overcompensate. But how I've dealt with that is I go in with a bang now, opposed to when I first started acting, because, there's a buildup of confidence that you have to build. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. I had to learn to become confident in the things that I do. And I'm sure a lot of actresses out there can attest to that. And of course, with the craft, as trained as we are, we just start to become more confident, like anything, as time goes by. And that's, I tell myself, you're good enough. You're an amazing actress. And you've got everything it takes. And I talk to myself. I tell myself things that I need to hear prior to going into an audition, so that I feel that inner sense of power that I need to feel.
So that almost like Tony Robbins calls it, like priming.
Right. Okay.
Right. Where you, or whatever, however you want to justify, but telling yourself things so you're putting, I have a good friend, I'm going to be at his place at a mastermind here coming up, James Malinchek, this next week, but he has a saying. He was on The Secret Millionaire, and James says, GIGO, good in, good out, garbage in, garbage out. So you're basically telling yourself, so this is one of the things that you do in order to put yourself in the right frame of mind, is constantly feeding yourself, telling yourself, hey, I am good enough. I am beautiful. I am a good person. I am this, and that kind of thing. Is that right?
Positive affirmations. Absolutely.
Yeah. Positive affirmations. There you go.
In the mirror, on some occasions, telling myself, you're great, you're awesome, you're a powerful woman. The things that I want to be, per se, let's just say, those are the things that I reinforce. And as a result, my life has gone in a really, really positive direction. Because
how long have you been doing that consistently?
I would say probably about 5 years consistently. I also write a gratitude list. So 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I have a 15-year-old daughter, by the way, for anybody who may know me on social media or not. I have a 15-year-old daughter who I've taught to do the same. I tell Sophia, honey, what are you grateful for today? And we talk about it in the car on the way to school. So it's kind of lovely to hear her say those things, but it's actually helped reprogram her as well. Because we all know that teenagers get in a funk sometimes. So that little adjustment and tweak to her brain really does help her out quite a bit.
Yeah, and you and I have had talks about this. When you're grateful and you're thinking about the things that you're grateful for, it washes away a lot of, fear, self-doubt, insecurities, because you're already in a, which we'll get into too, you're already in the energy, in a kind of that vortex of, like, hey, I'm grateful for what I have. Not, you obviously will want to achieve more, but hey, I'm grateful for what I have now. And, like I used to tell my son, say, hey man, if you treat your beater car, like I bought him his first car at an auction, and we drove it home and the wheel about fell off, and he was like, oh my God, Dad, don't buy that for me. I'm not going to drive it. I'm like, we got this. Like a $3,000, junker, well, I say junker, but basically, it's like the things that we tell ourselves, the energy that we give. And you and I, have obviously talked about this. It's just amazing. Like as you start, the appreciation. I told him, when you get a junker and you treat it like a Mercedes, when you get a Mercedes, you'll treat it like a Mercedes, right? And now, and it's funny, I used to tell him this years ago, and now he has, for a couple years now, brand new, really nice Mercedes, which is crazy and funny. But those are the kind of things that I think, we don't realize as people, the kind of power we have. So empowering yourself, saying affirmations. What else do you do?
Not perfectly, believe it or not, but I do try to get on my knees in the morning and thank God for everything he's given me. I live in downtown LA now for the last couple of years, and I'm so grateful for what I have. I really am. So I thank God for that. And I'm grateful that God has given me so much, and I feel like, for me at least, praising God to some degree has helped me become more centered and grounded. So that's another thing that I do. Try to have a positive attitude, even when I don't feel like it, because there's times that I'm angry or irritable. It's like what The Secret talks about, but if I have a funky day or things are going wrong, I can actually go right back to where I started. I don't have to continue that bad attitude. I can pull it back, start my day all over, and change my attitude, because attitude is everything. So if my attitude is good, then I'm going to manifest and bring more good into my existence or into my realm. And if I'm not good, then you start to notice one thing goes wrong, then something else goes wrong, and you notice that person's not being so kind to you, but because you're putting out this thing that is bringing in things that aren't good. So I believe in that. I believe in our attitude can project good and not so good. So it just depends on where you want to be.
When did you really come to an understanding, not age-wise or anything, because we know you're 21, but but that's the secret. That's the secret sauce. But when did you realize, not at an age-wise, but years, like that you can control? Because I talk about, hey, we can control our the thoughts we think. We can control what someone said, what we actually believe about ourselves. If someone throws something at us, we can control, hey, I can believe that, or it's bullshit. I'm not going to believe that because it's not true. And, because whatever we believe, our mind is going to try to prove that right. And so when did you really realize that you could control your energy, your thoughts, the people you hang around, your inner circle? When did you really start understanding that, these things you actually have like a control over?
It's funny that you bring this up because let's go back a little bit. I always wanted so much love. I really did. So even friendships that I shouldn't have been in, but I was. And looking back, it took me a long time, DJ. It did not, again, happen overnight. But as I started to clean house, if that makes sense, in the last several years, and again, the belief in myself rose, then the people I attracted changed. Therefore, the people I was around with their mindset, I was syncing with them, and therefore started to believe more and more in my ability to believe better things. But back in those days when I didn't have the right people around me, I couldn't figure out why I was in a funk, if you will. I was in a funk some of the times because I wasn't being lifted, nor was I lifting them because I didn't have the tools and I didn't know. But as I matured, and that case in point, we'll get to that later about how that pertains to business and direction. It has a lot to do with it. Then I started to realize that I needed to change my environment and change my thinking, to change my life. And it was in that order. So I had to make a lot of changes, change me first inside how I felt, that it wasn't about the outside, that it was about the inside, attitude, gratitude, all the things that have helped me. Then case in point would bring different people in my realm and my manifestation. And then now where my business is at today and where things are going for me in different directions is because of those changes. But not everybody realizes it right away. It takes time. Some people never realize it. For the fact, I'm so grateful that I figured this out, because some people never do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So as far as like so you've touched a lot of things. I interview a lot of people, and it's amazing. People that have a good energy, that are positive like yourself, that have success, but it's not just success. It's like a flow, like a happiness, like, hey, I can do this. I got this. It's good. It's, I noticed some common things. They hang around, they're very selective on who their friends are and who their inner circle is and who they're around. And it's not just by chance, like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with so-and-so, even though I know that like they want to do this or they want to do that, or they want to, party or whatever. And you start really monitoring those things. Like I grew up on hip hop. I love hip hop, old school rap, and I'll hear a song. I'm like, oh, that's my jam. And then I'm like, maybe that's not good to hear, right? And I'll turn it off. So like the things that you're doing, the gratitude, the appreciation, having monitoring your thoughts, monitoring who you hang around, so vital and so helpful to people that are listening to this. These are the real things that you can do to quickly start shifting your mindset, is monitoring who you hang around, what you're thinking, how you're starting your morning. Of course, I talk a lot about the miracle morning. So self-love, you and I probably have more. We never talked about it, but we probably have more in common on that side. Talk about like when you were younger, when you were adopted, you went through that, you didn't maybe feel wanted, that caused you to not love yourself. How did that not maybe loving yourself at how you should have, how did that play out as far as how did that affect your relationships when you didn't love who you were? How did that affect your relationships and the kind of people that came around you?
Well, it's interesting that we're bringing that up because nobody did that to me, if that makes sense. I decided at a very young age of being hurt that my attitude was completely shitty. It was angry. I was volatile. I was a lot of things that I'm not today, and it's because I was hurt. So I became very selfish, all about me, not giving a crap about anybody else. And how that played out is that, you know, I would date really, really wonderful people, now looking back, that I wasn't good to because I didn't love myself. So it didn't matter if anybody loved me. If I didn't love myself, then I couldn't love them, even if I wanted to. And it was all about me. That's the one thing that's so prevalent, is it was me, 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 because I got hurt. So guess what? Now I'm going to make it all about me and run through life like a hurricane, getting mine, taking, not giving. That's the key word that I want to say, taking, not giving, because this world, you need to do both. You need to give and take. That's the law. And if you're not doing that, then things don't go so well. So, and now looking back, I realized that, but I didn't know it at the time. I can't say that my life was horrible, because it wasn't, but I was not a good person because I didn't know how to be a good person. I took the pain that I felt and I brewed it in a pot of negativity, and didn't really have anybody to say, hey, Marcella, look at your behavior. What are you doing? And maybe if somebody tried, I would say, who are you to tell me? You know, like, I was a know-it-all. So the fact is, I knew nothing and I didn't get anywhere. And it's so important on a success level because of those attitudes, because of that stinking thinking, I like to call it. You know, I wasn't going anywhere. I was just kind of, I was just existing. There was nothing I had to offer.
Oh yeah. You know, that's so many people, Marcella, including me, have went through this. Or maybe are listening to this and they are going through this going, holy crap, man, like that's me, is, you know, hurt people and they're hurt easily. And so, you know, any of us that have been hurt, and we all have, understanding, like I think, what was it, and maybe it was just gradual over time, but if, like, what is something or some things that you could share that if someone is going through that, or is that, they don't have to take 10 years or 5 years or go through, you know, people think like, well, it's gonna take me time. And like Tony Robbins talks about, you can change anything in an instant if you decide to change it. How can people that are in that area of life where they're hurting and they're guarded and they're venomous and they're lashing out at people, what are some things that people like that, outside of really understanding and realizing like, hey, I'm like kind of like being a dickhead, or hey, I'm kind of being a bitch here to these people, what can people do to make that shift? What would you recommend from what you went through?
I got to be really transparent in this case, that sometimes when we're that much pain, we look out for things to make us feel better. And there's so many things. Some people use food, some people use booze, some people use people. We're always looking for something to fill that void, thinking that the outside is the problem. If I get this or if I get that, I'm going to feel better about myself. But what I'd like to say to anybody out there who's hurting inside or who's struggling with whether it's addiction or not feeling good about yourself, one of the most powerful words that was ever said to me by a very wise woman, and it always stuck with me, is you have a choice today. And if you tell yourself that you can choose to be a woman that is going to be successful, a woman that's going to be honorable, a woman that's going to stop drinking and take her life into a certain direction, you have the power to change in that split moment. You don't have to wait as long as I did, because I didn't have the tools. But the tools the first tool is to believe in yourself, to know that you don't have to go another day feeling like shit if you don't want to. We choose to feel that way because we have self-pity. It's almost like a button, self-sabotage. And some of us like to brew in that and not see that we can change that tomorrow if we want to. But you know why most people don't change? Because it's not easy. And so sometimes when things don't seem easy, we cop out, but it's also a fear factor. The part that doesn't seem easy is the part that we're so scared on what's on the other side, because that's my experience. I was so scared to change because I didn't know who I was and what I would become on the other side. So I have to say, let's go. Should I go on and touch on my business, like how I started?
Yeah.
I started my spa when my daughter was 4 years old. I had gone to beauty school. I had even studied skin, but if I'm honest with you, DJ, I was so terrified, scared. I didn't know anything. I felt like I was nothing, basically, and I was about to start something blindsided.
And here's the thing I want to touch on this, Marcella. For, you felt like you just said you felt like you were nothing, that you were scared, you were fearful. Now, with that said, you had some what a lot of people go, holy shit, man, this lady has had like some incredible successes in life. And even though other people on the outside would look at that, you still felt on the inside that, gosh, I'm fearful. I don't know if I can do this. Like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And that's like, because people, it's kind of, we run into a lot of people and it's like, well, I need to see it before I believe it, right? You do it. And if it works for you, I'll jump in, right? I'll do it. You invest, you go into this network marketing, you do it. And if it works for you, then I'll do it, which is actually the opposite of what actual entrepreneurs that have successes and wins look at it and say, hey, I'm going to believe it. And I'm going to believe it before I see it. When most people will say, hey, I need to see it before I believe it. And so anyways, I just wanted to touch on that. So you're caught in that, like all of us, like even I am with things. You went ahead and jumped, right?
Well, the key thing is too, though, I didn't know I was an entrepreneur at the time. So the fear came from not only not feeling like I was, nothing important, but for the fact that my life was based on not having to do so much, to having to learn to become more. And that had to do with going deep inside, believing that I could do something that I did not believe that I could do. And so days became months, months became years, started real grassroots efforts. But in the process, I not only figured out that I was very entrepreneurial, but with those jumps, I became extremely confident in what I was doing and then became very good at what I did. But I had to jump through the fear first to realize that I was able to do something that if I just would have stopped myself, I would have never figured out I was an entrepreneur. So I'm glad that I took that jump in spite of fear, in spite of others telling me, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe you shouldn't. No, just make it easy on yourself. Just get married and, he loves you. Just stay with him. He's got money. Make it easy on yourself. The biggest jump I ever made was knowing that that wasn't the answer, is to believe in myself, because I knew there was a woman in there that wanted to strive and succeed. And I am so glad that I gave myself a chance to believe in myself.
Did you do that because that was something that what was your why in doing that? Was it your daughter?
Absolutely. My why was so big. My daughter is my world. And we know, do what I do, not what I say, right? You know that saying? Mm-hmm. But children observe everything. And so my daughter is always watching me. And so I figured, why not become the example that I want her to be? I already knew that I wanted her to go to a great college. I already knew that I wanted her to be a woman of success, not a woman leaning on a partner to take care of her, like society has made us believe. Some parents raise us to believe that getting married and having kids, and believe me when I say this, that is a beautiful thing. But now look at today's women. Today's women are powerful. They're entrepreneurs. They're doing it. Yep. And so when I saw some of those women, when I was going through these changes, I looked up and I knew that I was one of them. And so I not only wanted to be one of them, but I wanted to be the example to my daughter to show her, hey, watch me. I'm going to do it. And so can you. And so that was my why. But then in the process of that, the amazing growth that I got to obtain by just doing things that I was so afraid of rewarded me in time.
Well, because you're, a lot of people, it's when your why is stronger than, like when it's really strong, like, you know what, I've got to change the pattern. Like mine was, you know, I ended up walking away from my dream, playing in the major leagues and really, you know, probably playing for a long time, to like, hey, I'm going to take care of my son. And I didn't have a dad, so I wanted to, you know, be a dad, a great dad, right? Whereas I wanted to break that I wouldn't say generational curse, but and his dad wasn't really a great dad. So I wanted to kind of break that pattern. And I didn't think that deep at the time. I just knew, hey, I didn't have a great dad, so I want to be a great dad. And so and that was my drive, and that kept me really going. So like your why was your kid. So when your why is stronger, then when it's so strong that you'll just push through things that you're normally are scared of, right? And do them and say, hey, I don't care. Like, I got to figure this out. I've got to make this happen. And so like, that's huge. And you know that from having other businesses and things as well. Was that maybe your like big driving factor as far as like having a strong enough why that really drove you to just push through barriers and like overcome stuff that normally maybe you would have like quit on?
Well, before I had Sophia, there was I started acting young. I was doing really good, going booking movies and commercials, but I was a little lost back then. And I can talk about the dark depression that I don't think I touched on with you, but I remember laying in bed crying and having a big audition that day, I remember. And I was just so depressed. And I remember reaching up, you know, saying, why can't I just get there? I still remember that like it was yesterday. And I was wallowing in so much pain at some point in my life that my why, there was no why, even though I loved, you know, what I was doing. And even though I wanted to pursue what I was doing, my love for myself wasn't there. So when I had Sophia, that love, believe it or not, love is the answer. I loved her so much that even if I didn't love myself to the fullest that I do, I think more so today, that loving her was enough at that time to catapult me to where I am today. And so for that, I think that was a gift. You know, she was a gift in my life. And I know that. Absolutely.
Oh man. Mine is the exact same thing with Devin. It was like, I mean, there was times, you know, there's times that you feel like giving up. We feel like giving up. We feel like quitting. Maybe even we feel like, you know, taking our lives. I mean, I've had thoughts of that, like, God, it'd be easier. But it's like, you just hold, like that song, you know, you just hold on for one more day, and you just realize, and I think as you also get more, like you were saying, you know, when you love who you are, if we love ourselves, we'll be able to truly love other people and receive love. When we don't love ourselves, like it can be really destructive. And you know, you alluded to some things that you went through. I went through, you know, some things myself, but I think that's how did you start to really love yourself? What were some of the things that you did to where you really started going, damn, you know what, I'm pretty fly. Like I'm, you know what I mean? Like how did that kind of play itself out?
Well, I think I touched on a little bit about the fake it till you make it, which I did quite a bit. I remember in times of not feeling so fly or great about myself, it's contrary action. You do it anyways, regardless of how you feel. And that builds esteem. So by doing contrary action, that builds self-esteem. And therefore, when you build self-esteem, you start to love yourself. And that's what I did. Little by little, it was like you learn to crawl, then you learn to walk, then you learn to fly, you know, and that's what happened. I just walked through it regardless of how I felt. It didn't matter if I was sad sometimes. You know, I had to learn that when you become a mother, as you know, as being a father, you know, when a baby needs you to wake up and, you know, give them a bottle or change their diaper, you just get up. You don't say, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't want to get up. You know, you do it anyways, right? Well, that's the same with loving yourself and having a life beyond your wildest dreams, or at least knowing that you're going in that direction. you just do it regardless of how you feel, because if your feelings, which are sometimes the fear factor, that will always paralyze you and stop you. So you've got to be stronger than that part in your head that says, no, you're nothing, you can't do it, because that little voice is always going to be there. But you have to do contrary action to fight that and shoot for the stars anyways. And don't listen to other people. That's my biggest advice. Believe in yourself regardless, because you are not always going to have fans, and you are always going to have people that are going to be naysayers or doubters. But in spite of that, you move forward anyways, and you do it, and that will lead to something big for your future.
Have you had people that didn't believe in you?
Absolutely, tons. Yes, I had, and I'm speaking from my own experience. I had friends that I grew up with. I had people that I know that when I told them what I was going to start doing, they're like, you can't do that. Oh, you're a mom, you shouldn't be doing that. Oh, there was always opinions about what I could and couldn't do, is the point. But I knew that I was meant for great things. And as long as I believed that little belief that was in the corner of my mind, little by little, I didn't listen to those other thoughts that said, you can't. I just did, which led me to become the woman that I am today. And I'm really happy that I at least had that little voice that said, you could do it, Marcella, because then that led to me having better friends that said, I think I introduced you to my great friend / business partner, Morningstar. That is probably one of the best friends I ever had, because she always pushes me to be better. And I think we all deserve to have friends that believe in us, that push us. And if we don't, we need to realize the difference. And sometimes when we're not around the right environment, that's all we know. So unless we get examples to show us that we deserve better, then what do we have to compare it to, right? So my advice to people that feel stuck, or that are environments that they don't want to be in, find other avenues to lead you out of that hole, because that's what it is. It's a hole, and you got to get out of it. And it hurts, and it's painful, and it's doubtful, and it's all kinds of negative things. But when you get on the other side, then you start to feel good about yourself, and that's what leads you in the right direction.
So good. And you touch on something, it's feelings, right? Like if you want to get results in anything, you have to do things, be it at the gym, be it that, if we only came to work when we felt like it, or we only went to the gym on days we felt like it, but it's, and that's something that's really important, because really high level, as I talk and interview people like yourself and other people that are not just good people, but are really achieving some really great things in life, high level achievers end up having routines. I noticed, a lot of them have routines. A lot of people, it's like, hey, this is my routine. That means that it doesn't matter if I feel like it or not. I'm doing this every day, or I'm doing it every time this happens. I'm going to do this. So having those routines is huge, because if you have a routine, doesn't matter if you feel like it, you're going to do it anyways. And so that's a huge tip for people, is, not to go off that. Also, we were, you and I, relatively, come from a similar, era. We're taught that, we're told that failure is bad, right? We get in trouble for getting an F, and I got a ton of them because I had massive ADD and I was freaking hated school. And some of the teachers, and I won't say their names, but some of them had really bad breath, and I remember one in particular. So actually a couple. But we were told that, hey, failure is bad, right? You get an F, like my mom's kicking my ass. She's freaking getting out the Italian freaking like pasta spoon and beating my ass with it, right? That's probably why my fingers are bent, because I put them back and probably broke some fingers. But basically, we're taught, hey, failure is bad. And failure, we're programmed in our minds, failure is bad, when it's not, right? So we're programmed something completely opposite of what actual is in real life. Secondly, we're told that we're brought up, and the biggest thing is is that being selfish is bad. Oh, don't be selfish. Oh, don't be selfish. Be a giver, which yes, we want to be a giver. I'm a big giver. I love helping people all the time, do it every day. But when it comes to us, when it comes to who we're hanging around, when it comes to what we're thinking, like if you're not selfish, you're in trouble.
I agree.
But these things that we're told when we're young, right? Like you have to don't be selfish. Don't be a selfish person. And you start thinking, right? It's a 180. It's right. Like we should be told, hey, go ahead and fail forward fast. Go ahead and keep pushing through failures. Hey, go ahead and you need to be selfish on who you're freaking hanging around. You need to be selfish on what you're thinking. And we're taught that opposite. Did you have that? And I don't think it's just me, but
no, it's not.
Did you have that?
Yeah, well, I was a pretty good student, but I not to even bring this up, it's so embarrassing, but if I got less than an A, maybe, like a B, my parents would say, well, you're so smart, so why are you getting that? And that leads to perfectionism, and that's not good. I believe that we all need to fail to get better. Failure is good to keep going. It actually builds character, and it builds strength and endurance. And that, you played baseball, you know that, right? I mean, did you always catch the ball? Did you always hit the, did you always
every time? I never swung and missed.
Babe Ruth, what is the stats? What about Thomas Edison, Sylvester Stallone, Michael Jordan? All the stats on failures, but yet look at how successful they are, because it was okay to fail. But yet in society, failure to some, and in respect for, let's say, parenting back in those days, unfortunately, they didn't have the tools that we have today. Think about that. So their parents showed them one thing, and they showed us another thing. But we broke out of that mentality. And that's what sets us, apart from the people that don't. You have a choice. Do you want to think great thoughts on a daily basis and, believe in yourself? Because it's so easy to go, just forget, I give up. Forget it, I give up. I even see that in my daughter once in a while. I'm serious. She wants to give up, and I have to push her. I've got to push her, because at times my parents, as great as they were, they would tell me that I was intelligent. They would tell me I had all these gifts, but they didn't push me as hard as I pushed my daughter. And that's why you need somebody there on your side, somebody on your team to really support you through those failures, to make you believe in yourself even when you don't. That I believe is so important. But, again, it takes action. It's not talk. You have to act upon these things. So when you fail, get up and do it again. Get up and do it again. I mean, how many auditions have I gone in that I haven't gotten? Can you imagine my son, oh, they don't like me, or I'm not good enough? And we all know that that's not true. I just don't fit the part. That's fine. But keep going regardless, because one day I am going to fit that part, right? So if that's what I truly want, and that's in my heart, am I not going to follow my heart because I'm afraid to fail? And I believe probably over 90% of people they'll give up. And that's the problem. I'm now doing rapid hypnosis therapy by Marissa Peer. I guess I am sort of plugging her, but I'm saying it for myself and changing that mind of abundance. Who are we to say that we can't have it all? I'm sure a lot of us were raised by parents who said, you can't have everything. You need 9 to 5. You need to do this. These beliefs that we have to fit in this box, when entrepreneurs do not fit in a box. And I still, to this day, my mom fights me about insurance because I'm an entrepreneur. She's like, but what about insurance and your 401k? And she worries about all of these things because she thinks I'm going to struggle. And I said, on the contrary, I'm going to have more because of my belief in myself to achieve the desired abundance that I know that I can have, and that I'm on my way to getting more of. So
yeah, well, I talk about it, I laugh because you said some things like the programs that we're taught, like, hey, we can't afford this, money doesn't grow on trees, and these things that that subconsciously that are there, and we wonder why we have a challenge with thinking we can do something or really going for things, because these things that we were told, they're so ingrained that it takes a conscious effort to reprogram those.
Yes.
What was the what was the main thing that you heard growing up that probably, like, looking back, you go, holy shit, man, that probably jacked me up a little bit?
I'd have to say money doesn't grow on trees. I kind of like, or you can't have it all. I think that it was, you know, here's a funny story. I wanted to be Annie so bad when I was 9. I already knew I wanted to be an actress when I was a little girl. And my mom used to cut my hair like a pixie cut. So I would put this really long red shirt on my head and I'd start singing Tomorrow around the house. And I'm like, I'm going to be an Oscar award-winning actress. You know, I have these strong beliefs, right? And my mom's like, no, you're not. You know what I mean? And I was like, why? She goes, because you need to work like everybody else. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? So right off the bat, you know, the little girl hearing that, like, wait, you mean I can't be an actress? I can't be what I want to be? Why can't I be that? Because, and so yeah, I had to fight my mom's idea of what every day, even getting married. My mother wants me to be married so bad, you know, and that caused a few F-ups in my life, excuse the language, because I was like, okay, I better get married, I better get married, I better get married, you know, and that leads to, wait, why am I getting married? You get married for the right reasons, but I'm getting married for the old-fashioned reasons, to get married and have children and stay at home and do what the homemakers did back in the day. That's not what I am, so I had to fight those beliefs about myself, and those were hard to kick, you know, but eventually I kicked those beliefs that
she's like, marry him, he's got a private plane, for Christ's sake. But no, you know, and yeah, and it's so funny, you know, like Grant Cardone says something. He says, you know, people say, well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You've heard that. Yes. And he goes, why the hell would I want cake if I can't eat it?
Right.
Like, why, you know, we're talking, well, you can, you know, you got to have this, you know, we have so many, you know, you got to have this work-life balance. Well, what if I don't want, like, who says who, right? Like, what if I love working so much and I love helping people so much that I want to pour into that as much as I can? Maybe I want to work in the evening. Maybe I want to work on the weekends. It, like, in, you know, which I'm kind of speaking for myself, but you know, those things that, like you said, entrepreneurs, we are not in a box, and ain't nobody putting baby in the corner, right? Like, don't put baby in the corner, because that baby will come out like you're gonna have some issues. But so many people, we, like you know, you touched on some great things that they, you know, we take on other people's like thoughts and other people's like what we should be, what kind of life we should have. Oh, you should grow up, you should have, you know, marry and have a kid and stuff. Like, you know, so anyways, that was great. So so how did you, obviously, one thing I want, you know, you're around, and we'll just leave it at this. I won't dig deeper with you. You're around some like actual, like not only yourself, but you're around people that are like real time, like actors, right? Not wannabe, kind of like real actors that are at, you know, at high levels. When you see, like, because people listening, you know, they just see that person, but just like a Kevin Hart, right? Oh, he was an overnight success, but they don't see all the times that he got, you know, shit on, and he had people that didn't believe in him. And I tell people, listen, you got two types of people around you. You got people that are pissing on your flame and trying to put it out, or you got people that are fanning it. And you have to choose wisely that you're going to surround yourself and be around people. I don't care who it is, that are actually fanning your flame, not pissing on your fire, first. And secondly, these people, like not just yourself, but other people that you've seen, you know, go through this. Do they have the same thing as far as that resiliency, like to just keep going to the auditions, to be okay with, hey, that didn't work out, I didn't get that, screw it, I've got 3 more auditions next week? Do you see that in the people you're around too?
I think it takes a very, very strong mindset person to be able to be in this business to begin with, but obviously have a desire and a passion to be in it also. You have to have tenacity and strength and a belief in yourself, most importantly, to know that it's a numbers game to some degree, and it's also fitting a part. And for those actors that I know that have made it, they've worked hard to make it. They didn't get there overnight. They've worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. Nobody's an overnight success. But then you go to the movies one day, and you see that actor and you think he just, oh, where did he come from? He came out of nowhere. But you didn't see that 15 years that that guy had been going to auditions, booking small parts, supporting roles until it led up to something big. So there's those people that, and I feel like I'm one of those people. I want this. So I'm doing it because I want it. And it doesn't matter how many times I get rejected, because the time that I get something, it's going to be because I earned it and I worked for it. You've got to work hard for everything you want in life, not just in acting. And everything you do, it takes what, a certain number of hours, 10,000 hours to be an expert minimum. So what does that mean? That means that you've got to be consistent. You got to be tenacious. You got to work hard to get those things. They're not going to just fall on your lap or out of the sky by osmosis. You got to work at it. And that takes courage. That's what the key word is. You got to believe I can do this in spite of everyone around you telling you, oh, you know, you're wasting your time. Why don't you just go get a job? You've heard that, right? Or are you sure you want to be in that career? You're not making any money yet. I mean, it's not a waste of time.
How are you gonna buy properties 3,000 miles away? You're crazy. I would never do that. You know? Okay, well, like if I would have listened to that from some people real close to me, like really close, man, I mean, I wouldn't have done what I've done. I wouldn't have built what I built. I wouldn't be able to help other people not have to go through, you know, the learning curve. And people like you, and so you and Star, and I'll plug you guys. But so with that said, share it to people. You know, obviously you've shared a lot of great nuggets today as far as how you overcame things, the self-love, the issues that not having self-love, not having fear, kind of like what will happen if you keep believing the same thoughts that you believe that got you to where you got. Like, you know, I heard a saying before, the thinking that got you to where you got, if you're not happy with where you are, then if you don't change that, you're going to get the same, you're going to get the same thing in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. And people come in even to real estate. Well, I just need to do a deal. Stop. That's the thinking that got you, you know, to be 55 and broke and still paycheck to paycheck, because you have to change that thinking. You have to change the thinking that got you to where you are. And if you want a different life and a different result, that's where it all starts. Right. So with what you're doing now, share it to people what you have now going. Out some real estate stuff and venture. What's your main business that you have?
My main business is a mobile spa that I just launched a couple of months ago after being planted for over 11 years. And that was the business I was talking about, the one that I went into with fear and uncertainty, and I've stuck with it. And I educated myself a lot, and I went grassroots effort very humbly, because that was a humbling experience. And then in the process of it, I learned that I love serving others. And lo and behold, little did I know that that feeling of serving others is what gave me immense satisfaction. So then from that, I had a dream. I mean, this is so true. In my dream, it was so clear and specific. It said, you need to go mobile and then come up with a product that nobody else has. And I believe those thoughts come to us from something, whether it's subconscious or a higher power, God, whatever you want to call it. It was very clear and specific what I needed to do. So I started that. And as a result, you know, I'm becoming successful. You know, it's quite the success in specializing in anti-aging that is thriving in today's society. Women want to look beautiful. They want to feel good about themselves. They're looking for somebody that can give them that confidence and feel good about themselves. And that's what I love to do. I love to make women beautiful.
And if you can, I put it on the screen here, but for those of you that are going to hear this on the podcast, you can get in touch with Marcella through you can send her an email. I would give your number out, but we talked about some of the creepy shit that would happen if we gave your number out on here. So we're gonna not do that. But you can email her at sellabellaspa@gmail.com. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
CELLABELLASPA@gmail.com. And you can reach out and get in touch with her. And, you know, you said something too, Marcella, that I totally believe in. And it's looking good, feeling good, right? And so for a lot of people, that's like the first step. Like, okay, let me look good, right? And by look, you said, you know, fake it till you make it, or whatever. But hey, let me look good. When I look good, even in sports, right? If I look good, if I got new shoes, if I got a new bat, think of kids. I got the new batting gloves. I got this, and they go out and it's like they feel good, right? So sometimes that's where it starts. Is you have to, like, when you look good, and that starts working on, and you feel good. When you feel good, everything stems from our feelings. So when you feel good, you have better energy.
Test everything and bring it to you. You know, it's funny. This is so real. When I wear sweats and I don't get ready for the day and I go out, and then of course I end up seeing somebody that I don't want to see, right? But when I do that, I don't feel good. I don't feel 100%. I don't feel confident. There's something about taking care of yourself that really gives you that stem of confidence. And when it comes to skin, like I say, you know, our skin is like our teeth. You know, we take care of our teeth, we take care of our body, we hopefully eat well, because we know in longevity we're not going to get diabetes and arthritis and other kinds of health problems. And so, which is why I got involved with a company called Jeunesse. And I don't know if a lot of people know about that company, but they're #2 in the world. And they're in 141 companies, changing lives, changing health. I love to feel good from the inside out. And it shows. We need brain health. We need, you know, our teeth, you know, obviously treated. We need our skin treated. We need our hair treated. You know, there's a lot of things that have, it's sad to say, but it's true. We become more confident when we feel good about ourselves. And the way that we do that is by taking care of ourselves, you know? And so if that's something that somebody wants to do, of course, I wouldn't push it down anybody's throat, then I'm more than happy to help. But then, you know, for other people, they're okay with just being the way they are. And either way is fine. We're just saying that self-care is important.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. You know, look good. What's that saying? Look good, feel good, right?
Exactly.
And so here, I'm going to put this back up. So, and if people wanted to connect with you, they're like, hey, I really like this lady. Obviously, you live in the LA area. So anybody in the LA area that wants to have a mobile spa, you know, with facials, and you can kind of share with people, because obviously there's a lot of people in the LA area on social media that are going to see this, that are going to be promoted this. What are the services that you provide people?
So I do various things, from chemical peels and even more intense chemical peels for people with melasma and acne. And then, you know, melasma is one form of pigmentation hormonally, and then pigmentation. I do microdermabrasion, I do waxing, I do microchanneling, which is the latest and greatest of microneedling, which deals with growth factors from human bone marrow, mesenchymal stem cells. Everybody out there who knows about stem cells, this is the latest and greatest. We use microfilaments to put into the skin and to change the structure of the skin. And you can also get mesenchymal stem cells. I just got a call yesterday from a lady in LA that really, really has to have this product. So these products are top of the line. I also only use high quality skincare, because I always say what I would do to my skin, I would want to do for other people's skin as well. So I always believe in using the highest quality, great products. And I also have oxygen facials. I do various amounts of different facials. I more customize it to your skin, DJ, because as you know, your skin is not my skin or somebody else's. So I make sure that I customize to what your skin needs to bring it to its optimal health.
I love it. And obviously you're a good walking billboard, right? With the beautiful skin you have. And so, but, you know, and so, but like you said, you know, and I'm leaving it up here for the rest of the interview here, CellaBellaSpa@gmail.com. Also, those of you that are connected with me on Facebook, I just cleared so I can receive more friends. But those of you that are connected with me on Facebook, you can go and actually find Marcella under my friends if it lets you. But you can look her up. It's Marcella Rodriguez, which I'll put on the screen here. And you know, if it pulls up a bunch of Marcella Rodriguez's, just look for the most beautiful one and pick her. That's who it. Yeah, you'll you'll pick the right one. But so like today, and this was so great, Marcel. I'm so glad you were on the show because, you know, it starts with the inside, but sometimes also when we start with the outside, right? Like you see people on Oprah or these shows, they get a makeover, right? They get a makeover and they're like, oh my God, I feel so great. I feel like a totally different person. And sometimes that's where it can start. And then from that start, people start feeling good. They start believing in themselves. They go out, they take a chance on a business. They buy some real estate. When you're feeling good, you're more willing to take chances and things like that, right?
I think so. I think that I've always taken care of my skin since I was a teenager. I've been getting regular facials. And I like to tell women out there too that if taking care of your skin will prevent you from losing elasticity and losing collagen and your skin start to drop. You know, your skin is a structure. I want you to think of like Jell-O. And so what wrinkles are is when that Jell-O starts to collapse, that's what a wrinkle is. So instead of getting fillers and Botox and having to resort to that, if you do regular facials, skin health, it will prevent you from having to go that route. Some women are in the prevention phase and some women are correction. And I'm all for doing what makes you feel good, but you know, I love natural beauty. I think natural beauty is amazing. And I feel that if we can just keep ourselves more on the natural side, that would be amazing because I think all women are beautiful. And Ben, why don't you talk about your experience, DJ?
Whoops, hold on. My camera flips out. So my experience, basically, yeah, I mean, you came, you know, you and Star came by. We obviously went and had dinner as homies and friends, but we were out in the lobby area and people were like, dude, like, what is this guy doing on the table? Like he's under a blanket and this lady's like, you know, like going to town on his face. But no, I mean, I like personally, you know, I loved it. And I just had my first of like 6 with you. But, you know, even though I'm coming up on the big 5-0, you know, just always wanting to, I think for me too, you know, like I used to, even when I worked from home, you know, people are like, dude, you're always like in a vest. And like, I got my vest here right now. I just had it off for this, but they're like, dude, you're always like dressing nice. And even when I had worked in my home office, I always, like Amy does this, who works for me, is one of my best friends. Amy, she dresses like executive CEO every day and you know, does stuff from her home office. And so like, I was the same way, but I always think for me, you know, when we started talking about that was I always want, like, how can I be a little better? You know, just like hey, can I swim it? How can I lean out a little bit more? How can I grow my business a little bit more? How can I help people a little bit more? It's the same thing with it's being like well-rounded, like this vortex we call it, right? Our vortex is all encompassing, including, you know, our, you know, spirituality, how we feel, what we think, you know, the energy that we put off. But a big part of that is how we look. And like for me, it's like, hey, how can I just be a little bit better? You know, how can I strip away of how can I strip away my wrinkles a little bit more? You know, but what's that?
On your wrinkles, actually, I can see the hydration in your skin. It looks good. You look really good.
Looks better. But you know, yeah, like, hey, how can I be a little bit better? You know, how can I just be a little bit better in this area of life? You know, and so where you're just like I love inspiring people like you, where I want to take care of myself, health, everything, my energy, my nutrition, my looks, and everything. And so I think that's a big part of it. So those of you that are in the LA area, I'm sure if you paid her enough, that if you're in another area, maybe you might have to like put on a private jet, but you're only getting a facial, okay? But but like, hey, you can contact Marcella. I'll put it back up here one more time. And at cellabellaSpa@gmail.com. And for those of you, even guys, right? Like that are
yes, men lately
need it more so because we don't get our skin.
There was a time when men wouldn't even dream about getting a facial, but now, I mean, I don't know. Men are getting up there realizing that taking care of themselves is crucial.
It's I got some soap at home.
I to teach you that soap is not good for your face, okay? No soap, okay? You too, DJ. You know, I know we're getting close to the end here, but I want to thank you for what you've given to me also. You know, since I decided with Star, getting my hands wet a little bit in properties and cash flow, you've helped us a lot, and I really appreciate you and your tools for self-improvement, how important they are. Back to that, because I really believe that in order to get to the success, the daily work on yourself is so crucial. And I love it. I feel great. I've been using some of your practices and they've really been helping me out. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, you know, that's it, right? It's like, you got to have a vision for your life forward. Who gives a shit of what happened yesterday, even in the past? Like, you have to give energy, focus, attention to where am I going? What's my perfect day? What do I want my perfect day? What do I want my vision board? You know, vision boards are talked about and they're so kind of like blasé, you know, vision board, yeah, whatever, you know. But when you're writing down, you're really thinking about writing down your goals and things in your life. You know, I shared with you when you were in here at the office, I showed you, I'm getting it framed right now. I thought I had it in here. But
your third grade, what you wrote about.
Grade, right? And how that ended up, like literally something that I wrote in the third grade, how it actually manifested almost like in a different way, but it actually manifests in my life. Something I thought about one time and wrote down once. And so, what's that?
I said amazing.
I know, crazy.
Not surprising because I have a vision board based on my KUA, and I think we've talked about that. And to my surprise, I'm not surprised. Let me take that back. Not to my surprise, things are going so well. I believe in when you put it in and you see it, then you start to feel good about it, and that's when it starts to come to fruition. I think you know that. Right?
In manifesting, we could talk about look at just real quick to touch on that. That, you know, you've had some things, I've had some things manifest recently. You've had some really cool, awesome things manifest. When you're in that, I guess from your perspective, because I talk too much sometimes. What has allowed you to manifest the people, the opportunities, the things that are in your life? Because I in my book, in one of my books that I wrote with Kevin Harrington off Shark Tank and Laura Langenmeyer, talked about, you know, if you have a red Porsche or you have a red, you know, whatever it is, and you never see them and you get one, right? You start noticing them more. It's like, holy crap, man, does everybody have a Porsche now? So how have the things, like from your perspective, from a different angle, how have you manifested, what has caused you, I should say, to be able to manifest the friendships, the people in your life now that are constantly showing up on a consistent basis?
Because I put it in my mind what I wanted, and then I put it on my vision board. But I was so set to be specific, is the key word, about what I wanted. I put it on my board, exactly those things, and it's amazing to me that a lot of those things are now coming to fruition. I went through, you know, my daughter made a comment. I don't know if she was making fun of me, but she's like, Mom, you went through a slew of girlfriends. You had so many. And now, you know, she asked me who was coming. She just got the role of Grace, one of the leads in the play Annie, which I wanted to cry about because I told you my story about it, Annie. And she asked me who we're going to invite. And then I said Star. And I said a few other people. And I paused. And then she said, wow, Mom, you used to come out with all these names. What happened? And I realized my friendship list got smaller because I grew as a person, because I had expectations of what I wanted based on my vision board. And to match that, I can't be $1 million earner in something or become, the Oscar award winning actress that I want to be if I've got people that are pulling me down or certain friends that aren't serving my life. So I had to condense and clean house, if you will, to really watch the people around me so that I can grow. I believe that you can't manifest so well if you don't have the right environment, but also the right, what I see, what I take into my vision, which is the board I see every single day, comes to manifest by the way I feel. And I can feel, every time I see certain parts of that board, I feel good. And that feeling of feeling good is what brings these things to me. And so rapidly, as I told you, I don't want to go into it, but I told you how fast things started happening to me. And I know, and that's not an accident. It's not an accident.
Say that again, because I think, you hear people as far as like manifesting and everything. This is one key, and we'll run over a little bit for this because I think it's really important that people hear this. Okay. They hear like Jim Carrey wrote a check for $10 million to himself, or if you guys have never heard this story of your house, and literally signed a deal for $10 million for Dumb and Dumber, like right before, and he would drive to the Hollywood Hills and he would look and he would feel, wouldn't just think about it, but it's tying those feelings, you hit on it. It's tying those feelings. It's like sitting in a car, like going to a car dealership. If you want to, I love cars. Those of you that know me, of course, but going to a dealership and sitting in an Aston Martin, sitting in a Bentley, sitting in whatever kind of car, Lamborghini, and literally feeling, right? And if you can't drive it, feeling yourself drive it, or even without the car, just imagining that. I had a good friend, Russ Rufino. I'll give Russ a shout out here. The CEO founder of Clients on Demand. They did over 10 million in revenue last year on selling a course on how for people to start their own signature program. And he told me, he said, dude, when I got my house on the coast is he in Laguna or down there somewhere? And he's got an amazing house right on the cliffs. And he said, it's so funny, DJ. I had been there so many times in my mind, so intensely for 1 year, that it not only did it manifest really fast, but he said, when I got the house and I walked in, I wasn't even really excited because I'd already been there. It was so normal. I'd already been there in my mind so many times. And I felt the feeling of what it felt like, that it was like normal when I ended up buying this house and getting it. And so touch on that one more time, like for people that can hear, on how you have been manifesting things to show up really quick in your life.
I've been doing it since I was a teenager. I remember my friends
didn't know it.
I didn't know it. My friends would say, how do you get everything you want? Is exactly how it was said to me.
You're like, well, I mean, come on, look at me.
I know you. I said, I'm lucky because I was a teenager. That's what I believed. But now when I understood, I even saw the secret. I laughed because remember the little boy that got the bike even? Because he had thought about it. He saw it in the window.
Yeah.
Like it's the feeling that I felt. Like when I wanted something, I said, I'm getting it. Like my will and wanting it and feeling it, I would feel it so strongly that it's like that genie they talk about. Poof, it's there. I manifested you, I told you, because I started to go into, business with Star. We decided to go into the, investment side. And, what did you text me that morning? Hey, you want to be on my show? And I started laughing because I thought that'd be great, but I didn't know what you did. And then what do? Look at you.
Yeah, it's like,
oh my God. Yeah.
And you started telling me, it's funny because you started telling me like, hey, DJ, we're looking, Star and I are looking at doing some real estate investing and things. And that's not even what we're, just hanging out chatting about. And it was like, well, like, do you know what I do? And you're like, no. And it was like, oh my God, so yeah, so giving, it's not just seeing it right on the vision board or per day.
You have to know, you do have to see it, because see, when I look at that vision board every day, those things that I want are going into my mind as I feel excited about it, because I know that it's already mine. Like you have to believe you already have it. and feel it, like really, really feel it. And I mean, the best way to describe that is to know that, let's say you want that car, go into that car, smell the leather, drive that car, know that it's yours, and watch it manifest. I can't tell you how long, but depending on how much you believe and how much you feel like you can have that, or you will have that, or it's yours, better yet, then you'll start to see things start to shift. And it all starts back to what we said earlier. It's all in the mind. It's how do you think? What is your thinking process? How do you see things coming to you? I mean, look at your business. Look how it's thriving. And like you said, look at your beliefs and look at how well your business is doing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't owe it all. I mean, I used to be told when I was young, like, you know, it's mindset or, and I tell people all the time, I go, listen, man, the guys that I played pro baseball with that had the longest major league careers, they were average. And, you know, I'm not going to say any names, but they were really kind of average talent, right? But they believed that they were better than they were. So they tapped the highest level of potential that they had inside themselves. And they just freaking rose. And like, they were it. So they literally, they believed they were great. They played like they were great, even though they had, yeah. And so that's where it comes from. Yeah. I mean, whatever your mind believes to be true, it's gonna do what it can to prove it to be right. So if you believe that you suck, then you suck. If you believe that you can't do something, like they say, if you believe, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Right.
So true.
So with that said, thank you, my friend. Big hug to you. And for coming on the show today. And those of you, again, you guys want to connect with Marcella, you can find her, Marcella Rodriguez, on Facebook. What's your Instagram?
It's SelfLove Mobile Spa.
On Instagram.
At SelfLove Mobile Spa.
Oh, okay.
I have two, and then I have at Stella Banks with an X, at CELLA BANX21 is one. And my mobile spa is connected to that. So it's at Sella Bella Mobile Spa is my spa page.
At Sella. So on Facebook, or if you want to email, if you guys want to email Marcella, and even if it's just say, hey, this chick is really cool, I want her to be like one of my homies. Now you got to pass the energy test and you got to be positive, right? Or you ain't getting into that inner circle. But you can email her at sellabellaspa@gmail.com. Give me your Instagram one more.
Okay, it's at there's two. It's Sella CELLABANX21 is one, and then the mobile spa is at CELLABELLA mobile spa. That's it.
I'm gonna put the this one on the screen so people, a lot of Instagram people. This is Instagram at SellAbella.
MOBILE. There's an E missing.
Well, I told you I wasn't good in school.
I'm like, wait a minute. Okay.
I told you I wasn't good in school. So it's okay. Is that it now on the screen?
Yes, it is.
So Instagram, you can reach out, follow Marcella and her booming business. Actually reach out, get in touch with her, direct messenger. I gave you the email, and those of you listening on the podcast, you can touch base with Marcella either on Facebook or go onto Instagram at Sellabella Mobile Spa at Sellabella Mobile Spa. That's CELLABELLAMOBILESPA, right? On Instagram?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And thank you guys for being on the show. Make sure that you share this. Please, you guys, share this with people that need it. Share it with people that that can get something from this and this can help them. If it helped you, please share it. Tag us. Let us know that you shared it. I'll give you a free gift. I got some new gear coming. I'll give you some hats and things like that for sharing it. So thank you all for being on the show today. Thank you, Marcella, so much. And we'll see all you guys on the next show on DJ Thielen Live.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. All right.